In the heart of Chicago's South Side, where neon lights flicker against the night sky, a man lies dead in a rain-soaked alley. A gold wedding ring, not his own, glints beside his bloodied body. Who placed it there, and what dark secret drove someone to kill? Welcome to Family Crime Files, where we unravel a chilling tale of love, betrayal, and a conspiracy hidden behind the facade of a perfect marriage. Before we jump into this twisted case, tell us where you're tuning in from in the comments below, and if this story grabs you, hit that like button to let us know. Make sure you're subscribed to Family Crime Files, because tomorrow we've got something extra special waiting for you. On a rainy November night in 2018, Chicago's South Side hums with life despite the late hour. The neon glow from bars, upscale restaurants, and towering billboards lights up the sky, casting a vibrant sheen over the bustling streets. But turn down one of the narrow alleys branching off the main roads, and darkness swallows everything. It's in one such alley, just past 2 a.m., that a tragedy unfolds. Jake Miller, a 24-year-old delivery driver for a local courier service, pedals his bike through the rain, exhausted after a long night shift. He pulls into the alley to escape the downpour, hoping to wait out the storm. Under the flickering light of a broken street lamp, he spots a figure lying motionless on the wet pavement. At first, Jake assumes it's just a drunk passed out in the cold, but as he steps closer, his heart races. The man lies face up, his lifeless eyes staring at the sky. Blood pools beneath him, mingling with rainwater to form crimson streaks across the asphalt. A deep stab wound in his chest suggests a brutal, forceful attack. Shaking, Jake fumbles for his phone and dials 911. "There's a dead guy here," he shouts, his voice trembling with panic. Within 15 minutes, Chicago PD's homicide unit arrives at the scene. Leading the charge is Detective John Sullivan, a grizzled 50-year-old veteran with over 2 decades of experience in criminal investigations. Sullivan steps out of his unmarked cruiser, his sharp eyes scanning the alley. With one glance, he knows this isn't a random killing. Under the glaring beams of police floodlights, the crime scene comes into sharper focus. The victim, a man in his late 30s, is dressed in an expensive gray suit, now stained with mud and blood. His polished leather shoes, scuffed and soaked, hint at a life of affluence. His wallet and phone remain untouched in his pockets, ruling out robbery as a motive. But it's the gold wedding ring lying just inches from his body that draws Detective John Sullivan's attention. It glints under the light, a silent clue in the rain-drenched alley. Sullivan crouches down, pulling on a pair of latex gloves to pick up the ring. It doesn't belong to the victim. His own wedding band still sits snugly on his finger. Turning the ring over, Sullivan notices an inscription etched inside. "Forever yours." The words, delicate and precise, raise more questions than answers. Who left this ring, and what message were they sending? The investigative team quickly identifies the victim through his ID. His name is Michael Thompson, 38, a senior executive at a major Chicago bank. He lived with his wife in a high-end condo about 2 miles from the crime scene. The scene is meticulously photographed and processed. There are no signs of a struggle, no scratches or defensive wounds on Thompson's hands. This suggests he didn't expect the attack, possibly at the hands of someone he knew. The medical examiner delivers a preliminary report. Thompson was killed by a single, precise stab wound to the heart with a sharp blade, approximately 6 inches long. Time of death is estimated between 1:30 and 2 o'clock a.m. As the forensic team works, Sullivan surveys the alley. It's narrow, flanked by graffiti-covered concrete walls, leading to a busy main street just beyond. A security camera mounted on a nearby pole catches his eye, but its angle is too limited to capture the alley clearly. Still, the footage shows a figure in a black hooded jacket leaving the scene at 1:47 a.m., moving quickly but revealing no clear facial features. Sullivan turns to his young assistant, Officer Sarah Lee. "We need to check every camera in this area," he says, his voice steady but urgent. Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So, if you're hooked on this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. And if you're trying to piece together who's behind this crime, drop a comment with your guess. Do you think it's someone close to Michael? Hit that like button and share this video with your friends to see if they can crack the case. Sullivan decides to start the investigation with those closest to Michael Thompson. He calls Emily Harper, the victim's wife, requesting her presence at the precinct immediately. While waiting, he contacts Thompson's mother and older brother to deliver the grim news. Over the phone, Mrs. Thompson sobs uncontrollably. "My son had no enemies. Who would do something so cruel?" she cries. Michael's brother, David Thompson, who's in Seattle, promises to fly to Chicago that day. Both insist Michael was a model husband and professional, devoted to his family and career. Detective John Sullivan drives through the rain-slicked streets of Chicago to the upscale condo where Michael Thompson lived with his wife, Emily Harper. The 30-story building gleams with glass and steel, reflecting the weak morning sunlight. Their apartment, on the 15th floor, is decorated in a sleek minimalist style, polished hardwood floors, a gray leather sofa, and abstract art on the walls. But Sullivan notices a coldness in the space. There are no wedding photos, no signs of children, not even a single flower to add warmth. Emily Harper opens the door, dressed in a beige sweater and with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looks exhausted, her eyes shadowed as if she hasn't slept. Her hands tremble as she pours coffee, the liquid sloshing over the cup's edge. Sullivan sits across from her, observing every gesture. "Thanks for taking the time, Mrs. Harper," he says calmly. "I need you to tell me exactly what you know about last night. Your husband said he was meeting a client. Do you know who?" Emily shakes her head. "Michael didn't say much. He just mentioned it was an important client, something about a big loan deal. I didn't ask questions. He didn't like me meddling in his work." Sullivan nods, but his mind flags the oddity. A wife who doesn't ask where her husband is going late at night? "Can you tell me more about your relationship?" he presses. "Everything okay between you two?" Emily hesitates, her gaze drifting to the window. "We were fine," she says. "We've been married 10 years, no kids, so life's pretty simple. Michael was busy with work, and I have my job at the high school. We didn't fight much, if that's what you're thinking." But Sullivan notices her hands clench tightly as she speaks. He pushes further. "You mentioned David Brooks, a colleague of Michael's. Can you tell me more about him? Did Michael ever mention any issues between them?" Emily bites her lip, as if weighing her words. "Michael said David was jealous because he got promoted to deputy branch manager. David thought he deserved it more, so they had some tension. But I don't think David would do something like this." Before leaving, Sullivan asks, "Did Michael act strange lately? Coming home late more often? Secret phone calls? Anything like that?" Emily shakes her head quickly. "No, nothing unusual." Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So, if you're gripped by this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. If you're wondering whether Emily's hiding something or if David Brooks could be involved, drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and share this video with your friends to see if they can unravel this twisted case. Back at the precinct, Officer Sarah Lee and the tech team make a breakthrough. After sifting through dozens of hours of footage from traffic and storefront cameras around the South Side, they uncover a critical detail. Before the hooded figure appeared in the alley, Michael Thompson was seen leaving a bar called the Neon Dive, just a few hundred yards from the crime scene. In the footage, Michael, dressed in his gray suit, stumbles slightly as if he'd been drinking. More importantly, he's arguing with someone over the phone. The call lasts 3 minutes. Right after hanging up, he turns into the alley where his body was later found. Sarah reports this to Sullivan over the phone. Sullivan orders an immediate check of Michael's call history. The discovery of Michael Thompson's final moments at the Neon Dive sends ripples through the investigation. Detective John Sullivan orders a deep dive into Michael's phone records. The results are intriguing. His last call, made just before he entered the fatal alley, was to an unlisted prepaid phone number, impossible to trace. The call lasted 3 minutes. Earlier that night at 11:30 p.m., Michael sent a text to his wife, Emily Harper, saying he'd be home late. But another message, sent at 1:30 a.m. to the same prepaid number, contains a single word: sorry. Sullivan scribbles in his notebook. Who was Michael apologizing to, and why? That afternoon, David Brooks, Michael's colleague at the bank, is summoned to the precinct. Brooks, 40, stocky and uneasy, shows up in a cheap, ill-fitting suit, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air-conditioned interrogation room. Sullivan sits across from him, his voice calm but razor-sharp. "Mr. Brooks, we've heard you and Michael had some issues. Care to explain?" Brooks fidgets in his chair. "Yeah, I wasn't thrilled when he got promoted to deputy branch manager. I've been at the bank longer, but they picked him. It stung, but that's just work stuff. I'd never hurt him." "Where were you last night between 1 and 3 a.m.? Sullivan asks. "I was home with my wife," Brooks replies. "We watched a movie late, then went to bed. She can confirm it." Sullivan nods, his face unreadable. He instructs his team to contact Brooks's wife, Linda Brooks, a stay-at-home mom. Over the phone, she confirms her husband was home all night, watching a Netflix thriller. For now, this alibi clears Brooks, but Sullivan orders a deeper look into his bank accounts and recent movements, sensing he might be hiding something. Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time, so if you're hooked on this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. Are you starting to suspect David Brooks, or is that mysterious phone call pointing to someone else? Drop your theories in the comments below, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends to see if they can crack this case. As the day winds down, a new discovery jolts the investigation. While revisiting the crime scene, a forensic tech finds a red silk scarf buried under a pile of trash near the alley. Embroidered in one corner is a delicate Eve, matching the first letter of Emily Harper's name. Sullivan holds the scarf through a plastic evidence bag, studying it under the light. "This wasn't dropped by accident," he murmurs. "Someone wanted us to find it." He orders the scarf sent for DNA and fingerprint analysis immediately. In his mind, a question looms larger. Is Emily Harper connected to this scarf, or is the killer trying to throw the police off the trail? The red silk scarf with the embroidered E sends a jolt through Detective John Sullivan's investigation. Holding it up in the evidence bag, he can't shake the feeling that it's a deliberate clue. Was it left to point to Emily Harper, or is someone playing a deeper game? The scarf is rushed to the lab for DNA and fingerprint analysis, but Sullivan's mind is already racing with questions. Meanwhile, the team shifts focus back to the Neon Dive, the bar where Michael Thompson was last seen alive. Sullivan and Officer Sarah Lee meet the bar's manager, Tom Harding, in a cramped office behind the counter. The air is thick with the smell of whiskey and cigarette smoke, and pink-purple neon light filters through the glass door. "Michael was a regular," Harding says, leaning back in his chair. "Came in a couple times a month, sometimes alone, sometimes with another guy. Last night he was by himself, downed 3 whiskeys, looking agitated." "Agitated?" Sullivan raises an eyebrow. "Did he say anything?" Harding shrugs. "Not much. Muttered something about being betrayed. I didn't pry. Guys like him don't want to be bothered." Harding hands over security footage from the night of the murder. In the video, Michael sits at the bar, his face tense as he stares at his phone. He types a text, then takes a short call. At 1:40 a.m., a woman in a red coat and a baseball cap pulled low over her face approaches him. They talk for less than a minute before she leaves. Michael pays his tab, stands, and walks out shortly after. The woman's face is obscured, but something about her seems familiar. Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So if you're hooked on this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. That woman in the red coat. Is she the key to this case? Drop your guesses in the comments. Could it be Emily or someone else entirely? Hit that like button and share this video with your friends to see if they can unravel this twisted puzzle. Sullivan orders the footage of the woman in the red coat to be extracted and analyzed. As he reviews the case, a nagging question persists. Who was the woman, and how does she connect to the scarf found in the alley? The red silk scarf and the mysterious woman in the red coat deepen the enigma surrounding Michael Thompson's murder. Detective John Sullivan's team pushes forward, determined to unravel the truth. The scarf's DNA results come back, revealing two samples. One matches Michael Thompson, the other belongs to an unidentified woman. Sullivan orders a comparison with Emily Harper's DNA, but the results come back negative. Whose scarf is it then? The investigation circles back to the Neon Dive. Sullivan and Officer Sarah Lee review the bar's footage again, searching for clues about the woman in the red coat. The manager, Tom Harding, confirms Michael's agitation that night, muttering about betrayal. But the woman's brief interaction with Michael offers no clear answers. Her face remains hidden, her identity a shadow. Meanwhile, the financial analysis team uncovers a startling lead. 2 days before his death, Michael transferred $10,000 to an untraceable account opened with fake credentials, linked to the same prepaid phone number he called before dying. The account was closed immediately after the funds were withdrawn at an ATM on Chicago's outskirts. Footage from the ATM shows a figure in a hooded jacket, their face obscured. Sullivan's instincts tell him the money and the murder are connected. But how? David Brooks, Michael's colleague and initial suspect, is brought back to the precinct for a second round of questioning. He arrives looking more nervous than before, his hands clasped tightly. Sullivan sits across from him, flipping open a case file. "Mr. Brooks, we know you borrowed money from Michael. Care to explain?" Brooks' face pales. "Yeah, I borrowed $5,000 a few months back," he admits. "I had some gambling debts and he helped me out. But I paid him back. I swear I had nothing to do with his death." "You paid off your debts, but you were still jealous of his promotion," Sullivan presses. "You expect us to believe you had no other motives?" "I didn't kill him," Brooks insists, his voice rising. "I was home all night. My wife told you." Sullivan remains unconvinced but lacks direct evidence tying Brooks to the crime scene. He orders a deeper dive into Brooks's financial records, suspecting he's hiding something. Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So, if you're hooked on this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. That $10,000 transfer and the hooded figure at the ATM, who's behind it? Is Brooks telling the truth, or is he deeper in this than he's letting on? Drop your theories in the comments, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends to see if they can crack this twisted case. 3 weeks into the investigation, a breakthrough changes everything. Officer Sarah Lee bursts into Sullivan's office, her face alight with excitement. She places a USB drive on his desk. "The tech team found something," she says. "A video from a convenience store half a mile from the crime scene. It could be a game changer." Sullivan plugs the USB into his computer. The footage, recorded the night of the murder at 11:30 p.m., shows a man in a baseball cap entering the store. He's tall and lean, wearing a black jacket. He buys a folding knife with a 6-inch blade, the same type that killed Michael. Though his face is hidden, a small tear on the left shoulder of his jacket matches the hooded figure seen leaving the alley. Sarah continues, "We traced the purchase. The knife was bought with a credit card registered to Ethan Carter." Sullivan's brow furrows. Ethan Carter, 36, is another colleague of Michael's at the bank, a name that hadn't surfaced until now. "Bring him in," Sullivan orders, "and check if he's connected to the woman in the red coat or that prepaid phone number." Ethan Carter arrives at the precinct by noon, dressed in a sharp navy suit. His tall, lean frame and calm demeanor contrast with the unease in his eyes. He sits across from Sullivan in the interrogation room, hands resting on the table, trying to appear composed. Mr. Carter, Sullivan begins, sliding a photo from the convenience store camera across the table. We know you bought a folding knife on November 10th. It matches the weapon used to kill Michael Thompson. Care to explain? Carter swallows hard but keeps his voice steady. Yes. I bought the knife. I live in a rough neighborhood and carry it for protection, but I had nothing to do with Michael's death. So where's the knife now? Sullivan asks, leaning forward. If it's just for protection, you'd still have it, right? Carter's eyes flicker. I lost it, he stammers. Must have dropped it somewhere. Sullivan doesn't buy it. He orders an immediate search of Carter's apartment. As they wait for results, he probes further about Carter's relationship with Michael. We were just colleagues, Carter says. Not close, no bad blood. But when Sullivan mentions the $10,000 transfer, Carter's face drains of color. I don't know anything about that money, he insists. That afternoon, the search team returns with a damning find. In Carter's closet, they uncover a black jacket with a tear on the left shoulder, identical to the one in the convenience store footage. More crucially, tiny bloodstains are found on the sleeve. DNA analysis confirms the blood belongs to Michael Thompson. Carter is placed in custody immediately. In the interrogation room, faced with the evidence, he grows frantic. I didn't kill him, he shouts. I don't know how his blood got on my jacket. Someone's framing me. With Ethan Carter in custody and his jacket stained with Michael Thompson's blood, Detective John Sullivan feels the case tightening. But doubts linger. If Carter is the killer, what's his motive? And if he's not, who's orchestrating this frame-up? A new lead shifts the investigation's focus. While digging into Ethan Carter's background, the team uncovers a surprising connection. Carter and Emily Harper attended the University of Chicago together 15 years ago. An old social media photo surfaces, showing the two standing close, smiling brightly. Emily's arm is draped over Carter's shoulder, their bond appearing closer than mere friendship. Sullivan decides to confront Emily Harper. He calls her to the precinct, informing her they're questioning a new suspect. When he mentions Ethan Carter's name, Emily tries to stay composed, but her hands clench into fists. Sullivan slides the college photo across the table. You and Carter were at UChicago together, right? You two look pretty close. Anything you want to share? Emily stares at the photo, her eyes flickering with panic. We were just old college friends, she says, her voice strained. I haven't seen him in years. We lost touch after graduation. Sullivan leans back, unconvinced. Another discovery complicates the puzzle. The financial team traces the $10,000 Michael transferred before his death. After being withdrawn from the untraceable account, the money was funneled into another account, one belonging to Ethan Carter. Sullivan confronts Carter again in the interrogation room. You said you knew nothing about the $10,000, he says, his voice sharp. But it ended up in your account. Explain that. Carter's composure cracks. I don't know, he insists. Someone must have hacked my account. I'm being framed. His denials ring hollow, but Sullivan lacks concrete evidence that Carter wielded the knife. He begins to suspect Carter might be a pawn in a larger scheme. To break through, Sullivan sets a trap. He calls Emily back to the precinct, claiming Carter has been detained and confessed everything. He deliberately lets slip that Carter named her as an accomplice in Michael's murder. Emily arrives that afternoon, dressed in a gray sweater and a long skirt, her face paler than ever. She sits in the interrogation room, hands clasped tightly, her eyes darting nervously. Sullivan takes a seat across from her, his tone calm but piercing. Mrs. Harper, Ethan Carter told us a very interesting story. He says you planned your husband's murder and he was just following your orders. Care to explain? Emily's face goes white, her lips trembling. He's lying, she whispers. I didn't do anything. He's trying to pin this on me. Sullivan presses harder, placing the college photo on the table. You said you were just old friends, but we know it's more complicated than that. What's your real relationship with Carter? Don't lie. we have evidence. Emily stares at the photo, her eyes wild with panic. She tries to steady her voice, but it falters. I don't know what he's talking about. I had nothing to do with Michael's death. Sullivan leans forward, his gaze unrelenting. We found Michael's blood on Carter's jacket. We know the $10,000 your husband transferred went through Carter's account. And we have video of you, or someone who looks a lot like you, meeting Michael at the Neon Dive before he was killed. Want to keep pretending, or are you ready to tell the truth? Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So if you're hooked on this mystery, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. Is Emily Harper the mastermind behind this murder, or is she another victim of a twisted plot? Drop your theories in the comments below, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends to see if they can unravel this deadly conspiracy. Emily buries her face in her hands, her body shaking. In that moment, her defenses crumble. Tears stream down her cheeks, real this time. I didn't want it to go this far, she sobs. I just wanted to be free. Under the pressure of Sullivan's questioning, Emily begins to confess. The truth she reveals is darker than anything Sullivan could have imagined, pulling back the curtain on a web of secrets that led to Michael Thompson's death. Emily Harper's confession breaks like a dam bursting, her sobs filling the interrogation room. Detective John Sullivan leans back, his eyes fixed on her as she reveals a truth darker than he ever imagined. Emily and Ethan Carter weren't just college friends. They were second cousins, a secret they'd buried for years. They grew up in a tight-knit family in a small Illinois town where their bond was frowned upon, not for legal reasons but due to strict family values. When they both enrolled at the University of Chicago, far from prying eyes, their forbidden attraction ignited. They dated in secret, hidden from their families and friends. But after graduation, Emily chose to bury the past. She married Michael Thompson, hoping for a fresh start. Ethan, however, couldn't let go. He was obsessed with Emily, reaching out to her repeatedly over the years. 2 years ago, when Ethan joined the same Chicago bank where Michael worked, he saw a chance to rekindle their relationship. Emily resisted at first, but was slowly drawn back into Ethan's orbit. They began meeting secretly at her condo when Michael was away on business, masking their affair as casual catch-ups between old friends. But Michael wasn't easily fooled. He grew suspicious when Emily started getting late-night texts. One night, he checked her phone and found intimate messages between her and Ethan. When confronted, Emily admitted their past relationship but swore it was over. Michael, shocked and furious, agreed to forgive her on one condition. She cut off all contact with Ethan. But Ethan wouldn't accept being pushed aside. He threatened to expose their history if Emily left him, a revelation that would ruin her social standing and family ties. Meanwhile, Michael began digging into their relationship, gathering evidence to use against them. He threatened to go public, not just destroying Emily's life, but also shaming her family and their conservative community. Terrified of this outcome, Emily and Ethan hatched a plan to kill Michael. They chose the dark alley near the Neon Dive as the perfect spot, knowing its cameras were too grainy to capture clear faces. Emily, posing as the woman in the red coat, lured Michael to the bar under the pretense of reconciliation. She called him, feigning an apology and promising to end things with Ethan. Ethan waited in the alley with the folding knife he'd bought at the convenience store. On that fateful night, after leaving the Neon Dive, Michael walked into the alley as planned. Ethan ambushed him, striking the back of his head with a metal pipe to disorient him, then plunging the knife into his heart with lethal precision. Emily stood at the alley's entrance, ensuring no one passed by during the attack. Preparing and narrating this chilling story took us a lot of time. So, if you're hooked on this twisted tale, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. Emily and Ethan's dark secret has been exposed, but was their plan as flawless as they thought? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did Emily's betrayal shock you, or did you see it coming? Hit that like button and share this video with your friends to see if they can stomach this deadly conspiracy. The gold wedding ring left at the scene was Emily's idea. She used an old ring Ethan had given her during their college days, a token of their forbidden bond, and placed it beside Michael's body to mislead the police into thinking the murder involved a love triangle. The inscription, "Forever Yours," was a private message only she and Ethan understood. The red silk scarf, it turns out, belonged to a friend of Emily's. She borrowed it and deliberately left it near the alley to throw investigators off, hoping they'd chase a phantom woman. The $10,000 Michael transferred was a payment to Ethan, made under duress after Michael threatened to expose Emily's secret. Ethan used the money to pay off debts but withdrew it at an out-of-town ATM to avoid being traced. The woman in the red coat at the Neon Dive was indeed Emily, wearing a baseball cap to conceal her identity. The man in the baseball cap at the convenience store was Ethan, who frequently visited Emily's condo at night. Every detail was meticulously planned, but they underestimated Detective Sullivan and his team's persistence. With Emily Harper's confession exposing the chilling truth behind Michael Thompson's murder, the case takes its final turn. In the interrogation room, Ethan Carter crumbles under pressure, tears streaming down his face. He admits to killing Michael, but he points the finger at Emily. "She told me it was the only way we could be together," he sobs, his voice breaking. At the trial, both Emily Harper and Ethan Carter face charges of first-degree murder with premeditation. Emily sits silently throughout the proceedings, her eyes hollow, as if she's already accepted her fate. Carter, in contrast, pleads for leniency, claiming he was a victim of his love for Emily, but the jury isn't swayed. The evidence is overwhelming. The blood-stained jacket, the convenience store footage, the $10,000 transfer, the red silk scarf, and Emily's own confession paint a picture of a cold, calculated crime. The prosecution argues that their actions were not only brutal but meticulously planned, driven by a forbidden obsession that tore a family apart. The court sentences both Emily and Ethan to life in prison without parole, a fitting punishment in Illinois where the death penalty is no longer used. As they're led out of the courtroom, Emily turns back, her gaze meeting Detective John Sullivan's. For a fleeting moment, a flicker of regret crosses her face, but she says nothing. The courtroom doors close behind her, sealing their fate.